On today's show, I am joined by Glen Willis of ATL on 29 to discuss the first 10% of the season for the Hawks. 8 games, 10% of the season. We've already seen a lot. There's a lot to discuss, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2095 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland. I've been the host of this podcast for more than 9 years at this point in time, and today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5, and if first bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com right now to get started. I also want to encourage you at the top of the podcast, as I always do, to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. I appreciate you being here as always, and please tell your friends about the show. I'm joined today by my good friend Glen Willis of ATL 29 for a check-in after about 10% of the season for the Hawks. 8 games as about 10% of the season. We've already seen a lot. There is a lot more to see, but some early takeaways, some observations from Glen, X's and O's stuff, Trae Young's injury, all that fun stuff coming up in this conversation. So please keep it locked. And by the way, part 2 is available in this same podcast feed shortly after part 1. May not be immediately available, but shortly will be available in the coming hours after part 1. But with a 2-day break in between games for the Hawks, a good time to kind of have a deep dive with Glen. And here we go with part 1 of a 2-part conversation about the Hawks with Glen Willis. I'm joined once again by a good friend of the podcast, Glen Willis of ATL 29. Glen, 10% of the season is over. There's so much to talk about still. How are you?
I'm good. I had to watch the game this morning because I was at a 2-day strategy offsite. We went 3 hours for 2 days. Like, what are we doing, sir? But so I had to rewatch this morning. It was a fun watch for Hawks fans, I hope. Nice win there. But yeah, a lot going on.
It was probably better to watch. By the way, we're recording this on Wednesday evening, so we're discussing the Tuesday game. The Hawks won on NBC over the Magic. It was probably more fun to watch in rewatch fashion because you didn't have to watch all the free throws and all of the slogginess. But certainly the Hawks did play well on Tuesday, and they've got Orlando's number right now, which is certainly helpful when that's the primary division foe that you're worried about. So that's nice. But just to give the caveat here, Glen and I often talk for a while. We'll probably will today. We can't possibly talk about everything. So I told Glen behind the scenes, I was putting some just thoughts together, like not even like information, just like, hey, potential leads on conversations. And I got to like 35 things. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to be a sicko here, but we're not going to get to 35 things today. So just keep that in mind, everybody. We'll talk about more in the future, I'm sure, when I beg Glen to come back. But there is a lot to discuss. I mean, they're 4-4. I pulled this today. This isn't everything, but the Hawks have been favored in 4 games. They've been underdogs in 4 games, and they're 4-4. Which is kind of like, okay, things have gone, not everything's going the way that they hoped for sure, but it also, the vibe of it all is not terribly off. I think basically the only game that I would point to as like a real disappointment was the season opener. Like that was a bad performance, and I think everyone acknowledged that.
Yep.
But they swept Orlando to balance that out. I think if you were to project the Orlando games, you probably would project a split preseason. And they're 1-1 so far. They're 2-0 so far instead of 1-1. And here we have 500. So obviously we'll be diving in, Glen. But broadly, we watched 8 games. It's 10%. It's a round number. But like, what sticks out to you broadly about what you've seen so far? And maybe it's just like business as usual. But what have you seen? And obviously we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I think the challenge, I will say, the first roughly 4 games was the defense was garbage. I mean, It was bad, right? Giving up 138 points to Toronto, that should never happen. They don't have an actual point guard on that team. Now they come at you with a ton of size and length. They turn you over. They get out in transition, and that's how they kind of put their points up on the board. But I was for a team that on paper had so many defensive upgrades from last season to this season, I expected much more from them defensively. Now they've been incrementally better the last few games, right? Cleveland made a bunch of threes against them. You could argue, is that random or not random? I tend to lean a little bit random. Shots going in, it can be a little bit of a random thing. But they were a little disorganized there too. And we could talk about how they're defending with Kristaps at 5 versus a Congo at the 5. We can spend a little time talking about that later. But I thought their defense was great last night. against Orlando. And I know that, people want more Mo Gay, who doesn't, but it feels like that's coming together. I still think there are some very specific challenges they have scheme wise when Kristaps is at the 5 that don't apply when Okongwu is at the 5. And I think there's still something to figure out there. They want to play Kristaps mostly in drop, but like against Cleveland, they had him getting to the level, and he had a hard time kind of getting back, to the middle of the floor on that play. And it's supposed to be interesting to see the way Quinn kind of works on the schematic difference. When Okongwu is on, sometimes they'll straight switch 1 through 5. When Kristaps is on, you can't do that. You can't switch 1 through 5. Sometimes the other team will force a switch because they didn't navigate the screen very, very well. But those things are getting cleaner, and they're getting a little bit more connected. Their comms seem better. The transition defense seems tighter. And so I think they're heading in the right direction on that end last few games.
Yeah, I agree for sure. You mentioned the first 4 games, and I think Quinn talked about this too. And I think some of it's explainable. That's not excuse. That's explain, which is different. Yeah. By especially that first Toronto game, it's like they weren't matching up in transition. It was a combination of I don't think the effort was bad. I really don't. Like there were moments. There always are moments. I think I gave that spiel when it happened. It was like, hey, if you watch any NBA game, you can find some effort moments from any player because it's impossible to play 48 minutes like that. But Quinn's been pretty consistent about talking about how he sees the effort has been good. It's really been even transition. I think there's a misnomer out there that it's just about running back, and it's in the NBA. It's not just about running back.
Oh no,
you have to match up. You have to be in the right spots, and I'm glad Quinn's actually been a little bit more open about like the schematic stuff of that than he is on a lot of things. But yeah, I mean, the first 4 games, they had bad defensive performances by the numbers against Oklahoma City, which of course is Oklahoma City. That's fine. But Chicago and then of course that Toronto game. Since then, it's been better. Now, I will give the caveat a little bit. They've had a much easier schedule in the last 4 games. Even Cleveland, who was their best opponent, was missing like 4 of their top 9 guys in that game. And you got Brooklyn in there. You got the corpse of the Pacers, all those things. But they have played better defensively. They've certainly gotten more familiar. Of course, defensive. Look, just to say this thing out loud, like being without Trae defensively is a positive thing. We could just be adults about that. But I've been encouraged. I had a feeling you might go defense first. I'm glad you did. I'd like to stay there a little bit just because, look, the theory of the case for, especially in the non-Trae stretch here for a month at least, it seems like, is that they have to defend at a high level. And they've all kind of been pretty open about that. Even Quinn, the players, talking to guys in Indiana and Cleveland in the locker room, especially, like, they know they got a guard. And it's not just coach speak. Like, you always got a guard, but I think they know the margins are a little bit slimmer on offense. Porzingis has been a question, and I actually want to dig in on that a little bit because Kevin and I don't think Kevin would mind me sharing this. Your co-host at Detail 129, my nemesis. I sat next to him last night, and we were kind of musing to each other about Porzingis. When he is actually at the rim, it seems to be going just fine. It's basically when he's not there. Yeah. And you already alluded to that without me knowing that you were going to do that. But I wonder, okay, let's go here. How do you address that? You're going to give the I'm not an NBA coach caveat, which I'm excited for you to say out loud.
Yeah. No, I mean,
how do you address that? Compare because they do have I'm sure this happens to you too. He'll have a bad stretch for Porzingis will, and it's like, bench him, play Okongwu 35 minutes, play Gay 30. I get it, but Porzingis is a guy you're not benching guys. He's going to play. He's a big part of the team. He's got a reputation. He's offensively talented. They have to figure out the defense with him on the floor, and the numbers on that end of the floor with him on the court have not been great. So what do you do now?
Yeah, so we had a little conversation on this, and I think that was the last 18-20. I can't remember how far back, but basically in Boston, what he did is he sat in the weak side corner and he was weak side rim help, right? And that's really mostly what they asked him to do. Kept it very, very, very simple. He doesn't get to do that on this team. No. It's not that he's got to do more than that on this team. So I think for him, there is an adjustment to, drop. Like the Celtics never play drop. I mean, basically, they're getting their bigs to the level and all that sort of stuff and everything. So he's kind of back to being a drop center. I would say 70-80% of the time he's on the floor. That's how far from the screen are you? One full step from the screen. If you're a drop, are you high drop? Are you medium drop? The depth of his drop matters a lot too. And so I think part of that is just him getting used to navigating different space than he had to navigate when he played for the Celtics. So it was weak side to the rim, weak side to the rim, weak side corner to the rim. That's what he did. But he looks like the rhythm's coming, I think, the last few games, and the feel, the timing, and all that sort of stuff. But he's in very different space defensively than he was last year with Boston. And that's just something I think he's kind of working through. I think the other really, really big impact is to Jalen. Because when Kristaps is on, they're running that drop, and then when Onyeka is on, they're running that 1-3-5 switching. And I think that's I think the 1-3, it doesn't really impact that because your power forward is often on the back of the play as well, and that sort of stuff. But Jalen dealing with a different scheme depending on who's playing center, I think has been a lot for him mentally. I don't want to necessarily excuse that, but it impacts him way more than anybody else, right? And when Mo's on, like Mo can do whatever,
Yeah.
he walks on water on the end of the court, it feels like, and so for me, it's like it's the Kristaps plus Jalen minutes that have been, I think, the worst in that sense. And I think a lot of it is just two completely different schemes Jalen has to snap into depending on who's playing center next to him.
The NBA is back. There's no better place to get on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you actually missed the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand in the middle of the game, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth-quarter comebacks and much more. Plus, you can combine your live bets together if you want to into a single parlay with a shot at a bigger payout. On top of that, they also have all the kinds of bet types that you actually like, from point spreads to over-unders, money lines, player props, game props, future bets, and so much more. Plus, they cover all the sports that you love at FanDuel. That includes the NBA, which we're talking about on the top of this podcast, plus the NFL, college football, college basketball starting right now again, baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, tennis. They have NASCAR, F1, boxing, MMA, and so much more. Plus, FanDuel is really easy to use, and they're fast to pay out when you win. They keep every game more exciting at FanDuel, especially when your team is making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is also giving customers that are new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. So the place to go is FanDuel.com to sign up right now and play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's be real. Making excuses does not actually solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, though, sometimes your body actually just needs a little bit of extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctors-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves yourself. At Rougiette, they make it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor. It's 100% online with no awkward waiting rooms and no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment actually ships directly and discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's handled by real doctors as well. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter to you. You can visit Rougiette, that's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA for 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use that code. It's LockedOnNBA at Rougiette. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. So they know we sent you to them. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. I want to dig in a little bit on the pairings in the front court. We don't have to over-index it. And I'll do this once, and I'll stop giving it's only 8 games. And some of these, by the way, it's only like 6 games for Porzingis. He didn't even play in all 8 games, for example. But you're right. The numbers paint the picture of Jalen Porzingis is pretty rough, in particular on defense. I'm not saying that can't work, just to say that out loud. They're going to get it figured out to some degree. Even the rebounding, like, that's a different topic that I want to ask you about, but that's been a glaring deficiency, really, with any combination this year. I'm actually I'm not used to, like, right now, Jalen is in the wrong part of the leaderboard of on-off splits. He has the worst splits on the team. Yeah. And that's like the exact opposite of where we were in previous iterations with the Hawks. Like, Jalen had the best on-off splits last year until he got injured. And part of that's Mo's playing great, which is great. You love that.
Yep.
But part of that is the fit, like you said, with Porzingis in the starting lineup and that front court. It's funny. I'm thinking back to this summer as we're talking, and, one of the potential positives of some coherence at center is that you could have decided to kind of the path they wanted to choose defensively from a schematic standpoint. And then you end up in a place where, I talked about this a million times with Capella and Okongwu, like, you kind of had to play a little bit differently. Porzingis is almost even more extreme than Capella. And I wonder what, like, what pressure does that put on Jalen, but even the coaching staff? Like Porzingis is not going to suddenly have a different skill set. Like they can deploy him differently, but he's still a lumbering guy. He's 7'3". He's the biggest, the tallest player they've had in that spot for a very, very long time. But he can't do the things that Mo and Okongwu can do. And I wonder like how you navigate that, knowing that again he's not going to stop playing. Like maybe there'll be a night when they close with the Okongwu. I'm not saying otherwise, but Porzingis is going to play 25 minutes or more in every game, which means you have to address those minutes at some point defensively.
Yeah, I mean, and the other part is that he's pretty thin. That's it, and that shows up in his defensive rebounding all the time. And when he's high pointing a rebound, he's doing better. When he kind of gets a half a step on the guy he's trying to put a body on, he's better. All those sorts of things kind of make that better. But I think you and I talked at one point across the player capsules and things like that. That his defensive the Hawks fans might be surprised he's not that strong of a defensive rebounder.
Yep, and they are surprised, by the way. People haven't figured it out yet, but still, it's guys. He's the problem.
That's one of the we tried to tell you, But but for me, it's angle, timing. It's the point of attack being firm enough. Like the first 3 games, they were giving up like straight line drives like constantly. That makes the center's job very hard.
Yep.
Very, very hard. Someone's coming downhill at you, and because it does impact timing, spacing, angle to be that help at the rim. And I think looks like he's kind of getting closer to kind of having all that down now. And it does help that you're starting Dyson and Nikhil together now. That's a ton of point of attack defense there. Zach is, struggles when it's a really strong guy he's trying to defend. When it's a guy who's not as strong, he holds up a little bit better. And such, but like Clint would just step into that seam or step into that driving path and kind of just cut it off, and someone behind him would have to kind of help behind him. Too often that was last year, Niang or Trae or whoever. Not a great setup you have there. But I do think Kristaps seems to be kind of getting the feel for playing that drop, playing in the middle of the floor, measuring the distance from the screen. Is my 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps below that screen? Reading, we broke contain on the strong side, ball got middle, step up there. And that's all stuff that he has to do that he really never had to do on playing for Boston. Because they would rotate wings in that all the time. Jason Tatum was often defending 5s up the floor because Boston will not let you send their centers up the floor ever.
Nope.
Right? That's their rule. And so but the Hawks don't do that. Right, that's not the way the Hawks play, and so it's just different. I think he deserves a little, I don't know what's the right word, grace or time or whatever it is,
patience.
Yeah. Because and my hope is as we go through the next 5 to 10 games, we start seeing better timing on that help at the rim, better spacing, better angle, all that stuff. Because he's a professional. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
It's just like I said, to close the loop on it. He's just being asked to do completely different stuff this year that he did playing for Boston.
One of the things that I find hard and difficult about this early stretch of any season, but also especially when you have like prominent new players, is the balance between, hey, it's early, and also like where there is some signal to the noise, And I think one of the things that I'm legitimately worried about a little bit is the defensive rebounding, which we just alluded to that, but they've played 8 games so far. I have it in front of me. They have not had, by the numbers, a good defensive rebounding game yet in 8 games. Like they are routinely bad on the defensive glass. And I'm not saying bad as in like below average, like bad, like bottom 3 in the league bad on a nightly basis. And I don't think the personnel should be that. We did already reference this, but we did kind of just put the flag out there early in the summer to say, hey, Clint's not walking through that door anymore, and they might have some challenges on the defensive glass. I will raise my hand though and say I didn't see them being a bottom 5 defensive rebounding team.
Yep. And
look, right now I think there's a little bit of noise to this too, but they're a top like 6 or 7 half court defense team, like first shot half court defense team. Part of that is that opponents are shooting very badly on threes against the Hawks right now, which I know is a change from previous years when they couldn't stop making threes against the Hawks.
Yeah,
that's probably going to regress. Like right now, opponents are shooting 32% from 3. That's probably going to come up a little bit. So you have to figure out a way to close possessions and close the loop. And they all know that. It's been a topic that's every game. It feels like Quinn's talking about defensive rebounding, or I'm asking, or Kevin's asking about it, or whatever. But how worried are you about this? Because it's been, I keep saying it, it's been their number one statistical problem on either end of the floor so far through 8 games. That's how bad it's been.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is funny. I think if you kind of look at the narrative on social media or whatever, you'll see that, I mean, Clint like just carried them as a defensive rebounder every game he played. And that's not who they are anymore. That's not who they have anymore. So, and NBA, if you listen to NBA coaches talk about rebounding, they'll always kind of call it a team responsibility. I need 5 guys rebounding the basketball. Yep. I think the last few games, Jalen's been a lot more engaged on the defensive boards. So I think that's encouraging. And Onyeka a little bit too. But I mean, Jalen had a ton of rebounds against the Pacers. I think I can't remember what the number, like 14 or something like that. And so that's coming along. Dyson's a very good rebounder for a guard. Zach's just got to improve his technique as a rebounder. I know he's not strong, but he can't get pinched out of that rebound, away from the rebound. Yep. In that sense, he's 20, and he still needs to get stronger and all that sort of stuff. But it's just one of those things. Is like if the Hawks are playing with an 8 to 10 point lead halfway through the fourth quarter, Zach's probably going to come off because Quinn's going to put on 5 guys who will rebound the basketball. In possession, rebound the basketball, into possession, rebound the basketball, and kind of go in that direction. And I don't even mind if it's either KP or Onyeka plus Jalen plus Mo plus 2 guard. I have no problem like closing defensively like that if you have a sufficient lead offensively. Yeah. And so I'm curious if we'll see some more of that. But they should be capable of rebounding, but it does take all 5 guys putting in the effort. It's funny. I heard years ago, I heard Stan Van Gundy talking about it. He's like, it's the one thing the coaches always harp on is like freaking rebound the basketball. All 5 of you have to be engaged and he's like, and the way I think he's on a podcast, so maybe he was one when Woj still had a podcast, something like that. He was like, coaches, you get one thing to kind of ride your players about, and you have to pick that one. And he's like, every NBA coach, it's rebounding. And so they have to figure that out for sure. And get better, or it's going to cost. I mean, that's how you give up 16 second chance points in a game. You are putting yourself uphill trying to win that game.
Yeah. And right now they're averaging, I think it's like 18.5. And that's like, you can't live there. And, I think it's going to be better than this. That's what I've been saying. And I do believe that there's a balance with Zach where I know they're asking Zach to be like the sprint down the floor guy. That's some of it, but he also has to get better on the glass for sure. Porzingis is not very good on the glass, but he's got to be better. I'm glad you mentioned Jalen. I thought Jalen, like something that I know talked about a lot with Jalen in the summer was that Jalen is an awesome rebounder, and he really wasn't the first few games. And that I think, unfortunately for him, he kind of has to be on this team. Like he's the one guy that you would say. I think you're right. You're right about Dyson, but it's like he's the one front court player that's like an awesome rebounder, and they kind of have to have him do that. So we don't have to keep talking about that for too long, but I just want to say, like, it has been as bad as we're talking about it being. Like, right now there are 3 teams worse than the Hawks in defensive rebounding, and they are either totally rebuilding or they are like ghastly front court situations. It's Brooklyn, Brooklyn, it's Boston, who has no front court anymore because everybody's gone, and it's the Pelicans, who Hawks fans know are kind of a mess at the front court. So, like, you know where you don't want to be as a team trying to make the playoffs. Is down there with those teams on the defensive glass.
There is zero excuse for them staying in that area. Statistically, it has to get better. They have to fix it. They should be able to rebound the basketball, etc. And like Mo does great, like on the defensive glass.
Mo's a high. I mean, he high points the ball. Like he's not the strongest guy in the world, but Mo has the ability to go up and get one. Like
verticality. Yeah.
Yes. And positioning wise, most of the times it's like, I don't know how I got to a ball, but when you're that rangy, you can get away with more, which I think is helpful. And look, you don't have to be an awesome defensive rebounding team to be a good defense. You don't have to be. Look no further than the mid 2010s Hawks. They were not a great defensive rebounding team with Allen and Paul, but they were not this. They were not a bottom 5.
Playing the wrong position. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Let's be real. No one starts a business with the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets, and that is where Gusto comes in for you. To take the stress out of actually your payroll, your benefits, and your HR, you actually focus on running your business and supporting your team the way that you want to. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, and paying employees, Gusto helps to do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price. That means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And Gusto's automated tools offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposit save me hours each and every week. And knowing you actually can reach certified HR experts anytime you actually need to, it gives you real peace of mind as well. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll with Gusto. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, the place to go is gusto.com/lockedonnba. When you get hurt on the job, do you actually know what you're entitled to? Attorney John Foy does. Lost wages, medical bills, rehab, therapy. You should be getting all of this and more. The system's not making it easy for you, but they do at Attorney John Foy and Associates. Every day, Attorney John Foy and Associates help people get the money and the benefits they deserve after they've been hurt on the job. When it comes to workers' comp, it pays to know what you're entitled to. The strong arm helps you get the proper medical attention, pay off your medical bills, and then get you on the path that you need to good health overall. I love they actually treat every client with respect and compassion and dignity, and they're available 24/7 to take your call at John Foy. Also, the best part is you pay absolutely nothing until John Foy wins your case with no upfront costs. If I was injured on the job, I know exactly who I would call. It's the strong arm. John Foy and Associates is trusted because they've helped thousands of different clients get justice and real money in your pockets. Let the strong arm cut through the insurance company nonsense and fight to the end to give you every single dollar. Call John Foy and Associates today at 404-400-4000. That's 404-400-4000, or visit johnfoy.com to get started. They don't just settle, they win. Get the strong arm. Call Attorney John Foy and Associates today. One more thing on the defense, at least. The transition has been a topic. I think because of how bad the Toronto game was in that particular area, it's colored a lot. But also, it's not the only game that's been that way. And Quinn's talked about it. I wonder if that's a similar thing to the rebounding, where you think it's going to get better, but also like how much better can it be? Because that's another thing that's really hard to overcome, is being like glaringly bad in that area, because teams, especially right now, early in the season, this is a league-wide trend. Teams are running, the pace is up. That's what happens early in the season. It tends to be that way. But hopefully for the Hawks, things settle down, they can be better there. But for every encouraging factor in the half court, and there have been plenty of those, they have not been able to match up. And I think for me, I don't want to give them an excuse, Glenn. I've been leaning on the fact that they're playing together for the first time, and Quinn's doing that too. And I wonder what you think of that, how reasonable that is, or whether people are just coping, including Quinn, on that.
Well, I mean, for me, especially when you have a veteran group on the floor, they know what is required in transition defense. No one needs to hold their hand or remind them. They know like what the principles are. Number one is you hustle back. Number two is you talk. I got someone who's got ball. I got ball, and you actually say I got ball, right? Then everyone else behind that is getting matched up. Do we have a bad matchup? Do we have time to switch a bad matchup, right? Mm-hmm. And then once you do all that, then the next priority is stop the ball. Like stop the ball, And so when I was still coaching a while back, that was my one thing. Like my team wasn't doing transition defense. Get back, stop the ball. That was, and my players were like, so sick of hearing you say that. Well, like I'm like, do it, Yeah, do it. In that sense. So for me, it's like that's where it's basic. Get back, identify who's got ball, get matched up everywhere else, stop the ball. Now you can set your defense, and that's, I mean, fifth graders know how to do that if they've been playing enough basketball long enough, and little 11-year-olds or whatever, they get a little distracted sometimes, but grown human beings, veteran NBA players, should not have any issue with that at all. So hopefully it's something that it's just a matter of new group. Some guys have different communication styles. Sometimes some guys are under communicating. That's not okay. It's not okay to under communicate in transition defense. But I'm not in the arena. I can't hear every, I don't want to act like I can know exactly what's going on, but they have to be more organized and more connected in that area of play than they have been so far. And I think the last few games it's been better.
It has been. I mean, and even some of the fast break points allowed numbers the last two games have not been good, but that's mostly tied to the fact that they've been turning the ball over like crazy. Like there is always it's not one side or the other. Like there's always a feedback loop there. If you have a lot of turnovers, it's going to be hard for you to get back. That's especially live ball turnovers. So these things feed on each other. But I just wanted to say that out loud. Like it's been rough, but it has improved a little bit. And I always thought it was the tone being set by the Toronto game, and as bad as it was that night, it's like hard to forget, It's just like sticks in your head, once you're not trying to have that happen. But
I know. And then the start to the Brooklyn game is like, I want to. There's some guys that asked me to join their group DM, and I was like, okay, I'll jump in here, and stuff like that. But I think Brooklyn got a 12-0 or whatever it was, and I was like, WTAL, like what is going on? This is like, Quinn has to be so frustrated with those slow starts.
And he was. I'm encouraged. They didn't have that happen against Orlando. They had 3 really bad starts in a row, and they to their credit, they bounced back in all 3 games. They didn't win them all, but they bounced back in all 3, and then they started out pretty well against Orlando. And I think that this doesn't solve the problem, but nothing enrages a fan base as well like a slow start. It's like these guys weren't ready to play. It's like I understand, like there's a little bit of that sometimes. Guys are not ready to go, but what are you gonna do?
It was the Cleveland game. I think Quinn was actually wake the F. You could see him.
Oh yeah, you could see him on the I was at that game, and he was not very happy. You could see him in the time. He was far more demonstrative early in that one than he often is. He can vocally say some things, but he was like more like he was gesturing in a way that you don't often see.
It was kind of like parents having a kid like who's like, we've talked about this,
exactly. That was the feel for sure. I feel like we talked about some of the challenges. I do want to make sure we get to like, what have you liked defensively? Because we'll talk about the offense in a second, but I have been encouraged by their execution in the half court after the first about game and a half, where it was kind of like too many straight line drives, but the numbers are pretty good. And I think that you've seen proof of concept with guys like Mo, for example. Mo not playing in the first game is going to go down in the annals with Sadiq starting over Jalen on the first game. Funny stuff from the Hawks. But what's encouraged you defensively on the whole for this team?
Yeah, I mean, so Dyson is the team's best defender, right? I think as wonderful as, but Mo is like not far behind.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, listen, if there's a chance a year or two from now, it's Mo like that, which might sound crazy because there's a discourse about Dyson we'll have to have today, but you're right. I mean, Mo's because of the position he plays and the way he can do things. There's always bigs have more ability to impact things than guards do, generally speaking. So
it's funny because the difference I see when I watch him this year, Mo, is that last year, like he was getting in everybody on offense, he was getting in everybody's way. Like Yang was trying to, shake out of the corner to the 3-point break, and Mo's in the wrong place. This year, he looks like he knows what he's doing all the time. And so he must have done some real work to kind of figure out, how do I stay out of the people's way? When do I cut? How do I, get to the corner and kind of just be a spot up shooter over there? But on defense, it looks like someone who goes or thinks or realizes, it occurs to them, look at all that I can do. Yeah. Look at all this stuff I can do. And as a young player in the NBA, it is hard to find that confidence. It's hard to kind of develop, the composure that you need to have, and then to activate a level of engagement and just activity that displays the full range of defensive talent you have. And for him, it's on a completely different level, just a completely different level. And he did have an impact last third of the season or whatever it was when he was playing more and more last year. It's still really different. I mean, it's really different. Chase down blocks, just getting all the way from the 3-point break down to the rim and kind of being another guy, impacting a shot at the rim, being a very active and proactive rebounder. I mean, he's just on another level. You watch him play and it's like, is this a future all defense guy? It's what sort of like, the butterflies, like we're like, okay, what is the ceiling here?
It's very
and where can this be? And I know the conversation that everybody has to have that we don't have time for today is he should be getting more minutes. The question is, okay, who do you take minutes away from to get him on the floor more? Mm-hmm. Do you want less of Jalen? Do you want less of KP? Do you want less of Onyeka? Whatever that looks like, all that sort of stuff. But I would say that's a good problem. If Mo is making Quinn think, I got to get him on the floor more at the right times, whatever it is, that's a good problem, to have. And there might be some games where other teams are going small and Mo plays 30 minutes, because he has that agility and lateral movement and all that sort of stuff. We haven't really seen that yet. To start maybe the OKC, I guess he started against OKC, if I think I remember correctly.
Yeah, one of the KP games that he missed. But,
they
had no front court team. That all 3 guys were out.
Yeah. So Dante played that game, and all that stuff. So So I mean, so it's just gonna be interesting to see the way Quinn navigates having his defensive impact on the floor when they need it most, and that's going to be really. Now Jalen does so much offensively. He does so much is pushing the ball in transition. As a power forward ability to kind of pass the ball, deliver the ball has been just phenomenal. Jalen's playing with much more balance offensively. Last year, there was a lot of kind of east-west. He'd go kind of from one side of the lane to the other and not really kind of square up. So he's a lot more balanced there. But I mean, Mo Gay making his head coach try to figure out how do I get him on the floor, on the right possessions at the end of the game for defensive possession, all those things. Hawks fans might be frustrated, but it's a good problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a good problem, and they've taken some steps, not some huge ones. I know people want more, and I get why. Mo's been awesome to pave the way for him to play more, and that's like, for instance, trying Jalen at the 3 for the first time ever, basically.
Yep.
Playing Zach at the 2 a couple times the last couple games. Like that's really the way, because on one night, could they play Okongwu less? Could they play Porzingis less? Of course they can. But those guys are at a level in their career, and you don't have to like this, but those guys are at a level in their career and a level of player. They're not going to just stop playing. Like, it's just not going to happen. Jalen's right now the best player on the team currently with Trae available. Like, you can't. Those guys got to play, man. There's only so many minutes. But I saw a meme that will end the defensive section on, I guess, but about Hawks fans wanting a Jalen at the point with Mo at the 2. It was like one of those, like, the 5 tallest guys on the court lineup. It was Jalen at the point, Asa at the 2, Mo for Okongwu and Porzingis. It's like, hey, it'd be good defensively.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I should say defensively is that my tweet about throwing my laptop out the window, that didn't really happen. It was a joke.
yes, it did. I saw it. I saw you.
Am I ruining it for everybody by saying I didn't do it?
I would have enjoyed not watching it. I would have enjoyed the reactions had the Hawks kept not playing Mo. It would have been our mutual friend Tyler would have probably had to walk away from his computer if they stopped playing Mo.
But after the next time out, he was on the floor. So I've like Quinn betted 500 here, but that's still not good enough. I want to know on both times.
All right, that is all for part 1 of a 2-part chat with myself and Glen Willis. Please stay tuned for part 2. It'll be available in this same podcast feed pretty soon, so keep it locked here. This is going up for part 1 on Wednesday evening. By Thursday morning, part 2 will be available as well, so please stay tuned for that. Please subscribe to Locked On Hawks anywhere you find your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow the show on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow me on Blue Sky at BT Rowland, and also follow my non-podcast coverage of the Hawks at patreon.com/BT Rowland. I appreciate you being here, everybody. Please stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see you all next time.